So welcome to all the familiar faces and names. Lovely to see you. It's so lovely to see you all every Saturday morning. It's very uplifting. So hope you've all had a good week, and a special welcome to anybody joining us for the first time to our Wellbeing at Home session. So we do these usually every week. We have the odd break every now and again, where we discuss and bring on experts and talk about all aspects of well-being. So this week has been interesting for us, with some signs that we're not smoothly returning to normal. On our side, we've had Spain being put back on the quarantine list. We're still waiting for Portugal to come out of that list. Not sure why it's on the list anyway, but we're hopeful. On the plus side, we're sending people to Greece, to Italy, Croatia, and Cyprus is allowing us to enter as of today. And then in the UK, all of our spas and retreats have opened, with most services except for close contact treatments such as facials. So there are choices in the UK if you don't want to get on a plane. I'm very excited because I have personally booked to go to Cyprus next week, as I'm really desperate to swim in the sea and get a change of scene. So it's definitely been a challenging few months. So my personal mantra is to stay flexible and resilient and not to let uncertainty bring about anxiety. And I'm trying to find joy in every day, even if it's a challenging day. So on that note, I would like to introduce the awesome Jacqueline Hurst, who always inspires me. Jacqueline is a friend and also a client. She's traveled with us several times to Shah Wellness Clinic in Spain in the past. And Jacqueline has an extremely motivating story because basically she's lived through her own discomfort, and she's been in the most difficult situations in her life and felt intolerable pain and has got through it. She's constantly learning and sharing with her clients, and she also is a big contributor through the media. So she writes for a lot of nationals and magazines. She's real. Jacqueline's real. She's not like kind of preaching from her pedestal. She's lived through stuff. So she tells it how it is, and she uses a variety of tools, and she really helps people change their lives. But I think the thing about Jacqueline, which I love the most about her, is she really cares about people. And whenever we catch up, she's always cheering me on, motivating me, and helps me see what is not always obvious to me. I always tell her to stop coaching me when we're meeting, because, you know, we're having a chat. She's like, oh, what's going on with you? What's going on with you? And I'm saying, stop coaching me. But you know what? I secretly love it. So there you go. So when we thought about what subject Jacqueline could help us with today, and somebody mentioned relationships, we all kind of went, yay, that's it. Because we've definitely had our relationships tested over the past months. Either being locked down 24/7 with our partners, kids, or housemates, or perhaps feeling isolated and lonely as we've been alone, and therefore not connected to our friends or family. I'm a strong believer that we are mainly here on earth to work on our relationships, because we're social animals. And if you think about it, our relationships are the one main thing that bring us the most joy or pain. So let's spend today and some time on understanding them. Our format today is asking Jacqueline questions and having a discussion about the topic. I have several questions to kick it off, but like last week, feel free to type your questions in chat, or if they're you know, sensitive, just send them to me privately and I'll ask Jacqueline. And we managed to convince Jacqueline to squeeze us into her very busy schedule today, because she has clients scheduled today. So we'll be finishing a little bit early, probably about 10 minutes early. So we'll keep it on track. So Jacqueline, hello.
Hi.
Lovely to see you. being with us today.
It's a real honor. Thank you for having me. I'm really honored, and I see all these names here, and I just think it's so lovely that technology can connect us in a good way. So it's great, really great.
Yeah, oh, it's just so I'm delighted to have you here. And before we kick off, is there anything you would like to share about your own relationships over the years, and just some like kind of general wisdom and what you've learned about relationships, like your kind of philosophy on relationships?
I mean, I would say that my philosophy on relationships is that a lot of the time we have in our minds that we should be having this perfect relationship and that everything should be working perfectly. And we have such high expectations of our partners and high expectations of other people. And I think when we start to understand that relationships are, they're imperative for our own personal growth, because that is really a mirror for us to look at our stuff, which comes through a relationship. But also to understand that, you know, one of my favorite sayings before I walk out my front door is, "They're not me." And it's such a powerful saying. And it's a useful one in close relationships too, because a lot of the time we have this, you know, manual for how we expect other people to behave, and they're not you. So it's very unlikely that they're going to. So it's how we manage that in our minds. So I'm a believer that relationships can be, you know, our biggest growth. They can be our biggest learning. Definitely for me personally, I can for sure tell you that. And I can also tell you that relationships are in every area of our life, you know, our friendships with family, with colleagues, with men or with women. So it brings to us, as I said, the most growth. So I'm a big believer in being aware of our mind, of what are we thinking when we're in these things, and how are we growing when we're in these things. So it doesn't matter if you're going through something that you think is horrific and awful and painful, because you are learning from it. There's just so much to say, Stella. If I start to go into one,
Okay, I'll start asking you questions. We'll narrow it down a little bit.
Definitely. That's it.
So, I mean, this lockdown situation, we've been forced to spend a lot of time with those that we live with, and whether they're kids or whether they're partners or whoever they are, parents, whatever. And you know, I've noticed that it could go either way. It could go, you know, you could have those days where everything was harmonious and you have amazing days where you could really feel the love. And then there were other days where there were arguments, a lot of conflict. I mean, we're not used to being stuck with people constantly. So it could have soured the relationship, you know, especially if you've been bickering and arguing, or, you know, kind of in that space. How do we get back on track?
I mean, it depends on where you're at with your relationship. You know, how long have you been together? Are you communicating? Do you communicate? If you're not communicating, why are you not communicating? And how do you bring that into the relationship? I think, as you said, it's completely right. Usually what happens is, you know, we get up, we have our breakfast with whoever's there possibly, and then we go to work for, you know, 8 hours of a day, so we don't see our partner. And then we come home and maybe have dinner together, which is 2 or 3 hours, watch something on the TV, so we don't really communicate, and then we go to sleep, right? So whereas we maybe spent two to 4 hours with our partner, we've been spending 24 hours with our partner, and we've been in each other's space. So it's totally normal, and it's totally okay if you feel like you're pulling your hair out. I just want to make that clear, that that's normal, and you're not mad, and it doesn't mean the relationship's over, and it doesn't have to be drastic. What does have to happen is that communication has to come in to talk about what's going on in your relationship, and to have a very honest conversation about where it is, where you want it to be, and how you can both try your part in getting there. So communication is the key with that.
Okay, so let's say that you've been bickering for the last 3 months. Now you've got your little bit of freedom back. I mean, you can at least leave the house a bit and whatever. But I've seen this in the past, I've seen it with myself in the past, where you get to the point that you've kind of built that barrier and there's a lot of pride involved, where you're, you know, you're rehashing conversations in your mind where someone has said something to you, you know, your partner, whoever it is in your household has said something to you, and it's, you know, and then they've said something else and you can't let go of that. And then, you know, it's like, there's just a lot of anger, I guess, or resentment. How do you address that? How do you address that when you're, yeah?
What I would say is, first of all, is if you're building a barrier, the only one you're really hurting is yourself. So I really want you to think about that, because when you're stuck in anger and resentment, which of course you can be if you want to be, the truth is you're creating that for you. I take my clients through a process of unlearning and into and going from a space of emotional childhood into emotional adulthood. And what that means is we have to stop blaming other people for how we feel. Because the more that we spend our time blaming them that they didn't do this properly and they said it that way and I can't believe he did this to me, we're stuck and we don't move forward. And I don't want people to stay stuck. I want people to elevate and to grow. So the first step is I have to stop blaming this person for how I feel. And I've got to look at my part in this. And that's a powerful thing to do, is what is my part? When we start to understand that how we think creates how we feel, we can then start to challenge our thinking in order to feel better. And that has nothing to do with the other person. So if someone puts the spoons in the dishwasher the wrong way consistently, and they're not going to change that, you get a choice to either sit there resentful and annoyed, which of course you can, but that doesn't feel good, or find a different way to think about it. For example, you could even go really drastic in your mind of, at least this person is here putting spoons in the dishwasher the wrong way. What if they weren't here, like, and they'd passed away, or they'd been in an accident? Or then you're going to look at that spoon in the dishwasher and you're going to be like basically grateful. And it's all about changing how you think about things rather than trying to change the other person, which is impossible.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. I think where the one thing you said there that really resonated with me is moving from like these childhood emotions and feelings into behaving like an adult, where you think everyone else is responsible for how you're feeling or how you're thinking or what's going on in your head, but actually you're in control of that. And then that can affect your relationship with others around that. I think some people have found their partners or family members like really negative, their mood really negative, and negative to be around during lockdown. I mean, I think, you know, there's two types of people. I'm generalizing, but you have your optimists, and then your pessimists. The pessimists will almost often call themselves realists, and then, you know, you have these kind of conversations. And when you're in this quite stressful situation, especially with coronavirus and all the anxiety that caused with businesses, income, everything else, you know, health concerns, all of that. Some people managed it in a more kind of positive way and said, okay, well, this is what we're dealing with. What can we do to deal with our uncertainty or our emotions? And then some people just dropped into negative at any time. And it's difficult when you're in a partnership or you're in a household where one person tends to or seems to be negative, to keep your spirits high. How would you manage that? What's your advice around that?
I just think if someone else wants to be negative, that's completely their choice, but it doesn't have to be yours. So again, it's like you've got to take responsibility for you, your thoughts, your feelings, your actions and your outcome. And if somebody wants to be negative around you, you don't have to be a part of that. You don't have to step into their energy. You can keep your own by having really strong thoughts in your minds. and remembering that's their choice, and you're not there to fix somebody. You're not there to make somebody better. You know, that's not your role in a relationship. So that sounds like to me someone's trying to fix somebody else so that they feel better. Forget it. That's not your job. That's their choice. And you also get a choice as an adult to not be negative just because you're around it. You don't have to be.
But even if it's your partner, even if it's your spouse or your partner or your child or whatever, you're saying, you know, it's kind of easier said than done, isn't it? Like to shield yourself from someone who you're with all the time, like shield yourself from that negative energy. How would, like, are there any tools, anything you would suggest that you could step into?
Yeah, what I'm saying is when I remember studying in New York at one point with this teacher who was really, really tough, strong New York woman. And I said to her, you know, how do you not get involved when you listen to people's stuff all day long? How do you not get into that stuff? Because it's very negative. And she said something really clever to me. She said, listen, when people are like drowning in a pool, right? If you stand on the edge of that pool and you say, here's you know, something for you to hold on to, right? Which is read these books or listen to this podcast or this is emotional adulthood thinking or whatever. Throw that into them and then they get a choice of whether they want to do that. You can stand there and be strong. But if you dive into the pool with them, what's going to happen? They're going to bring you down. And I don't want to be brought down, right? I want you to be an adult and I want to be an adult. So what I would do is hand it back to them and say, you know, I love you very much and I'm really sorry that you are feeling so negative and unhappy. And there's loads of things that you can do about it. You can speak to a life coach, you can listen to podcasts, you can read some amazing books, or of course you can do nothing and stay miserable. That's cool. I'm going to be in the kitchen making pizza. Love you. See you later. And you literally hand it back. You do not take it on unless, of course, you want to. And if you want to take it on, that's your decision.
I love your common sense. Straight advice. That's right. Absolutely. I mean, you know, look, I know we're both big fans of Wayne Dyer, right? And I found when I was reading Wayne Dyer's books several years ago, it really did change my life because I realized that you know, your thoughts, what's in your mind it affects so much. And I would definitely recommend looking up some of Wayne Dyer's books. We can put it on the follow-up afterwards because, you know, it's like I think his key line was change your thoughts, change your life, you know. But I love the way that you say to your partner, if that's how you want to feel, that's your thing, you know, and you don't try and change them and convince them that everything is rosy because that's just where they are. And what I found over the years is you can inspire people to change just through your own behavior, just to show them rather than try and make them see your point of view in a way. It's just leading by example in a way, isn't it?
I really think that, and I think that, you know, what you just said is exactly right. It's like, you know, the amounts of times through my relationships I spent, you know, trying to make somebody understand something to the point where I think I even got to like almost a trauma response to these things. Whereas now it just doesn't happen at all. And I can't try to make you see it my way. Like you're either going to flow with me and you're going to be on that same space, or you're just not, in which case, okay then, right? And that's how you, as you do your personal work and you do your growth yourself, you'll elevate to those spaces where you just attract those things in, and it's a lot more peaceful, you know. But yeah. I'm not gonna, you know, and neither should any of us jump into someone else's negativity to try to fix it, because you're going to be brought down. That's exhausting. Yeah. Very tiring.
Brilliant. Don't jump someone's negativity to fix them. Let's stop trying to fix people. So another question. Again, if you're stuck with someone 24/7, maybe the spark and excitement has left the relationship. Have you got any advice about how we kind of can rekindle that?
There are so many things that I could talk about on this subject, but first of all, I want to say that that's very normal. right? It's very normal that things change within the relationship and it isn't like it was on day one. And in a way, that's quite lovely because you guys have grown together and I guess the goals of the relationships have started to change. It's not like sex all day long, and it's a bit more about companionship and understanding each other in this time. So I think that there are lots of different things that you can do to bring the spark back. And it starts with reconnecting. And you can reconnect on many different levels, right? I mean, obviously, I'm very straight talking. You can reconnect by anything from one side of the scale of like sexy underwear and role play. And then you can reconnect from the other side of the scale of let's just take a walk together for an hour and hold hands the whole way. You know, there are so many different things that you can do to bring back the connection. And there are so many books on this subject and podcasts on this subject. And the thing is it starts with communication. You have to communicate that that's what you want to do and see how many things you can. You know, there's some lovely things. A friend of mine sent me something in Dubai, which was really sweet. It was like a little box of cards, and it's like getting to know somebody. And it's like all these different questions that you can ask about each other that you probably haven't even really asked before, right? And these are the sorts of things, like you bring the play back in and the enjoyment back in. You know, we're not here for very long. And that's why embarrassment and all the kind of stuff we really want to let go of, and we want to become more real and more authentic. And that's about being radically, authentically you. So bringing in the communication, having the conversations, reconnecting on a level that you want to do it at, it's really powerful.
Yeah. I mean, I thought of this last night. We were sitting outside having dinner in the garden, and just actually sitting outside and just being together in a natural setting and not sitting in front of a TV or doing your own thing separately. That alone, I mean, even if you don't talk continuously, is such a bonding experience. You know, those very small, subtle things that you can do to bring you closer together. I think nature's a big part of that, isn't it? And you agree with that?
I love nature. I'm a big nature lover. And, you know, a lot, especially through lockdown, a lot of my dating has been done by going for a walk in the park. And I think there's something lovely about that. You know, I'm very anti-distraction. I'm very anti-television and these sorts of things. I'm trying to connect with someone, you know, and I think technology has taken us away from that. It's really easy as well. That's another thing I want to say. It's really easy to get into these routines of like, right, we have dinner, we watch TV, we have dinner, we go our separate ways, and you do this and I do that. And so that's why communication is really important, of saying, you know, darling, I know this is the routine we put into, but I would really love for us to do something a bit different. Like, why don't we have dinner and then take a walk, you know, or have dinner and play a ball game together, or have dinner and let's have 10 questions each, or 10 questions you'd like to ask me that you don't know about me, and bring the play back in. That's really important.
Yeah. I've got a question that's been sent to me privately. This is a really good question. This is going on the opposite spectrum. This is more about colleagues. This question says, I've been thriving whilst working from home. A lot of this is to do with not having to deal with toxic people at work who are bullies. I'm not looking forward to going back in and seeing them daily. We work and sit together, so can't move from them. Do you have any advice?
Yeah, I'm going to say something, and whoever it is probably not going to like it, but bear with me. So I'm really a big believer that no one can bully us unless we let them. And what I mean by that is, when you're mentally strong, you will think about these people in a way where you don't feel bullied or scared or frightened or nervous. You have to elevate your thinking and find different ways to think about these people that you feel strong or calm or confident. So as I said, I'm a big believer that no one can manipulate us unless we let them. No one can bully us unless we let them. No one can confuse us unless we let them. And it all starts in your thinking. So I would want for you to, here's a tip. I would get your pen out, your pen and paper, and I would bullet point down all the thoughts you've got about this situation, i.e. these people at work. And every single thought you've got about it should go down on a piece of paper. When you've finished looking at all of these thoughts, I would want you to question, how do these thoughts make me feel? And I'm pretty sure that every single one of these thoughts are going to make you feel powerless, worthless, less than, fearful, really negative, low feelings. And when you're in those feelings, the actions you're going to take and the outcome you're going to get is going to be way down the wrong path. So the next thing to ask yourself is, how do I want to feel? And you probably want to feel strong, empowered, calm, in which case you need to reframe every single one of those thoughts that make you feel those stronger feelings. And that's really powerful work. And you're probably going to go, I don't know how to do this. How am I going to think about this differently? But you've got to challenge yourself. You've got to get to a space of, I've got to find a different way to think about this. So, I mean, I could share with you, I don't know, Stella, if this is okay, but I could share with you an example of something that happened to me 4 or 5 years ago, which is a really powerful thing. So I was in my car and I was on the phone to my mum, and I pulled up, and it was late at night. It was just before Christmas. It was dark. I got out my car and I was about to step into my front door, and I got attacked by 4 men. And I had one of them sitting on my stomach, one of them holding down my legs, one of them had their hand on my face to the pavement, and one of them was pulling my scarf. And I remember thinking to myself, I have not come this far in my life and experienced so much stuff to be here. Anyway, to cut a long story short, about 3 minutes later, someone at the end of the road said, "We can see you, get off her, get off her." And they all jumped up and they ran into this car that was waiting, and they sped down the wrong side of the road and they were gone. So the situation was, I had been attacked, and the thoughts in my mind were like, they tried to kill me. I can't believe this happened. That was horrific. And for 24 hours, which was fine because I'm human, I had feelings of terror, panic, fear. I couldn't even pee on my own. And then 24 hours later, I was like, okay, this is now a problem, because I spend my life teaching people that they get to choose how they feel. And I didn't want to feel terrified or bullied. I didn't want to feel like that. So I had to do my work, and I had to find ways to think about what had just happened that made me feel confident, strong, and powerful, because they're my favorite feelings. And I couldn't blame these attackers for those feelings. I had to find ways to think about this that made me feel strong. The attack was just the situation. In other words, these people at work, they're just the situation. They aren't your problem. Your problem is you and your thinking. So here is what I came up with. Number one, when someone shouted at you guys, you didn't stay and fight. You ran away like children. That started to make me feel a bit better. Like, well, they weren't that tough. Number two, you tried to hurt me, but I'm still alive. So you didn't do that well. That made me feel even better. And here's the kicker. When the police came over after the attack, they asked me to write something down. So I went to get a pen out of my handbag, and I looked in my handbag and ended up with 2 Rolexes, which were not mine. So I had mugged them. That was the most powerful thought you can imagine. I was like, really? Got my swag on. Really? 4 of you, 1 of me, right? I mug you, you get nothing. Like, bring it on.
Yeah.
And I felt so strong. And I put my coat on and I went for a walk around the square at night with those thoughts in my head. And I thought, you guys can't. You didn't win this one, right? I'm still feeling good about this. You're losers. I mugged you. Ha ha. Now, the only thing that changed was not the situation. It was the thinking. And that, my friends, is how powerful you are when you've got your thinking right.
Amazing, amazing story. I love the fact that they dropped the Rolexes in your handbag. That's just classic. That's divine retribution, I tell you. Fantastic. Yeah, but yeah, I mean, this is really, I mean, for you, feeling strong is what, and empowered is what makes you feel good. You know, I think everyone has different emotions that make them feel good. But as you say, it doesn't matter what it is, it's just thinking about what those emotions are and writing that down and saying, this is how I'm going to feel. And what can I do to get there?
Is that we get a choice of how we feel. So if
Yeah.
someone feels that they're being bullied at work,
yeah.
I want them to revert that back and stop handing their power away to these people and bring it back to themselves. Like, if you want to feel stronger and confident, right, it's actually not got anything to do with other people. It's got everything to do with you. That's all I'm really trying to say, is that this is your choice.
Yeah, there's a great question here of, but how do you get your feelings right? Is it a matter of mental fitness practice? Because you can get into that kind of just psyche and habit of not feeling, you know, not thinking right, feeling negative.
Yeah, I mean, how do you get your feelings right? Is my question is, how do you want to feel? Because you're the one that creates that. You create your feelings. How do you want to feel? And you look at the feeling that you want, and you want to be realistic. You know, you don't, it's not, I'm not, you can't be unrealistic. And this isn't like, oh, let's just positive think our way through things. That's never going to work. But what is going to work is, how do I want to feel? What's realistic for me to feel in this situation? And sometimes it's just okay, which has moved from any form of negative, of like angry, frustrated, upset. Even if you just get to okay, that's powerful. And how do you get those feelings? By how you choose to think. You are in control of how you feel.
Yeah, brilliant. Another question here, going back to the idea of, sorry, of dealing with negative people. We have someone here, Maureen, who says, if you have a strong sense of empathy or compassion, and you show a lot of understanding for other people, how do you get that balance right if you want to help someone, you know, like an unwell parent, or elderly parent, or someone who's unwell?
That's such a great question. I hear this a lot, and I'm really glad that someone brought that into this conversation. And I think that empathy is beautiful and compassion is wonderful. And without that, we are sociopaths. So I'm really glad that you got that. What is incredibly important is, if you're that type of, if you're an empath, you have to have boundaries. And that's a very important word. Is like, you have to learn to say no, and you have to have boundaries. You can love somebody and still say no, right? So you have to have the empathy for yourself as well, because if you're constantly giving and giving and giving, you're gonna grind yourself into the ground, and you cannot pour from an empty cup. And it's not self-care when you're doing so much of that empathy, but you're not looking after yourself. It's not really acceptable.
Yeah. Okay. On the flip side, if you spent the last few months alone, and I mean, some people have thrived on that and loved it, and other people have found it incredibly lonely and they felt isolated. Do you have any advice for them, those people? And then I think from that comes a feeling of disconnection, even now that we're moving back into some type of normality. But there is, there's that feeling of not being connected to the people around you because you feel very lonely.
Yeah. I think that there's a big difference. I just want to start with being lonely and being alone. And I think that's a very important difference, of asking yourself that question of, is it just that I'm alone? Or is it that I feel really lonely? And so I would want you to start there. Like, what is it that you're actually feeling? Because you can be in a relationship and feel lonely, or you can be alone and feel lonely. So if it's the lonely feeling that you've got, the question is, what is happening for you that you feel lonely? What's going on? Where are you not reaching out to talk to people? Because it's very easy. Look at us today. We're sitting here with a group of people, right? I've got lots of names on my screen. And we can do this, right? You can just literally pick up FaceTime, pick up Zoom, pick up Skype, and Skype people. So that can take you out of your loneliness. And you can say, right, I'm feeling lonely today, which means I'm going to speak to 3 people today. I'm going to speak to my aunts, I'm going to speak to my nephew, and I'm going to speak to my grandmother, right? And I'm going to spend 10 minutes on the phone to all of them. That's something that you can do. And I think that there's really, it's okay to have feelings of loneliness, but if you are struggling with that, you've got to reach out. You've got to push yourself to reach out and not sit in a form of, oh, I'm lonely and my life is crap. Because you just don't need to be doing that. I think that it's been a really weird experience that we've all just been through. And I think what people haven't really realized is you've just been through a pandemic, right? It's massive and it's not normal. So it's totally okay to have had really random feelings at all different times. And I've heard lots of different people with lots of different feelings. And it would be normal because usually we are so busy at keeping busy and taking ourselves away from ourselves that lockdown has given us, I would use the word opportunity, to really get to know ourselves again, right? And I think that when you're having those feelings of loneliness, it's a really good idea is to A, reach out and talk to somebody, and B, get to bloody know yourself, right? Really get up close and personal with you. Find out the things that you like, find out the things that you don't. Start to educate yourself on things that you want to know more of. Practice a new hobby. Read a brand new book. Sit in front of the TV and watch 15 movies if you want to. Enjoy this space because it will change and life will come back to some sort of normal again. And get to know yourself. Use it, as I say, as a really great opportunity.
Yeah. Absolutely, and I think again with lockdown I see it as an opportunity too, because we had that opportunity to stop running and really go within and see what it is that brings us happiness, really, and understanding. So yeah, I mean, look, I have so many questions for you. I think we need another session because there's a question here about what are the signs you're in a codependent toxic relationship, but we probably need like 3 hours for that one alone. So I'm not gonna go into that at this point. Does anyone else have any other questions that they want to, or comments actually that they want to put on chat, either privately or to the group?
I just say for the lady or man or whoever it was that mentioned that, there are lots and lots of books out there about codependency, and it's a really, really important topic. It's a huge topic. Stella's absolutely right. That's probably a whole nother, session on it. But if you think that this is what's going on, it is very likely that that is what's going on. There's a book called Codependent No More, which is a very powerful book. You can get it on Amazon, and I would suggest buy that today and get reading.
Yeah. Yeah, no, that's definitely good. One more question that I have. I don't feel connected to my family. So, people who did spend time alone and they went within, and they spent those 3-4 months kind of getting to know themselves and actually enjoying their own company. You can lose a little bit of connection then to your family, your loved ones, if you haven't been with them. How do you rekindle that?
I mean, I think it's about literally reaching out, isn't it? And it doesn't have to be, we put such high expectations on ourselves that, we should go and do this for 3 hours and I have to have lunch there and blah, blah, blah. You don't. It might even just be a coffee over Skype to start. Like, hey, I've got like half an hour. let's chat at 10 o'clock. You bring your coffee, I'll bring my coffee, and let's have a chat, right? Like, it doesn't have to be this big, mad, huge, you know, overnight stay. It can just be really simple, and you can break it down, and you must do what works for you, right? And start gently. I really think that a lot of the time, I mean, I was thinking about this recently, that we are all so hard on ourselves. And when we do things, we always think that we should do these grand scale things, but we actually don't have to. And we can be much kinder and much gentler on ourselves. And when we're coming from a place of like a loving, gentle kindness, right, through our day, which I know none of us have been taught, when we come from that space, we can do and achieve and experience life on a much kinder level. So if we ask ourselves that question in the morning of, what would I like to do today that is kind and gentle? Like, how do I want to play out my day in a kind and gentle way? Things will start to change.
Right, right. I have one final question, because I'm aware of your time, that's just come through privately, about somebody who is lost her mother just before lockdown, has been living in her mother's house. She hasn't let anyone in the house because of social distancing, and is scared to let them back in, not only because of the virus, but because of the painful emotions it brings up. And I've just got to say, for you to recognize that is a big thing, that you've already recognized that those painful emotions will come up. If you have any words of advice.
What's the actual question, Stella? I don't quite
understand. The question is, this lady lost her mum before lockdown. She's been living alone in her house. I feel scared to let them back in, not only due to the virus, but also because I'm afraid of painful emotions it will bring up again. Any advice on how to deal with that?
I'm going to say to you that the worst thing that we think can happen to us, when you really break it down, is a feeling, right? We think that's the worst, that's the very worst thing that's going to happen, is that we have these terrible feelings that are just going to overwhelm us. I'm really a believer of being brave and being willing to experience those feelings. You're not going to die from a feeling. You just need to feel them. And the more you push them away, the harder it's going to feel to bring them in. And I would welcome them. And I would say to myself, grief, come. And sadness, come. And I'm willing to feel you. And the more you allow yourself to feel those feelings, they will dissipate. But the more you push them away, the bigger they're going to get. So it's time for you to actually make the change, and to do it gently, and to do it kindly and slowly. And maybe say to yourself, right, this weekend, I'm just going to have one person here, and start the process. Because the more you put it off, the harder it's going to get. And I'm also a believer that your mum probably wouldn't want you to do that. Your mum would probably want you to open the door and bring people in and celebrate her life, rather than sitting in a space of being unhappy and grieving on such a deep level. Let your life start again. Let your life start again, and allow it, allow the love back in.
Wow, you've given me goosebumps with that one. Thank you so much. That's beautiful. I hope that helps. I really do. And yeah, it's been amazing. I'm going to let you go, because I know you've got a timeline here. Thank you so much for being with us. And I always feel powerful after sessions with you, because you exude this empowerment and real understanding of how to control our emotions and our life. And it was just, yeah, beautiful. Are you still there? Have you gone?
I'm here. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for the opportunity, and thank you for
everything. You. And we'll love to have you back again at some point. Thank you, Jacqueline. An amazing day.